Chapter 25 of Ramayana's Balakanda. Suna Shepa. Om Shri Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunataya Nathaya Sitaya Pataye Namaha. Trishanku had reached the heavens which had been created by Kaushika. He told himself, "This tapas, which I performed in the south, has had interruptions and I have used it all up. I will go towards the west and begin all over again. I will choose a spot where I will be concealed from everyone. I will be hidden from the sight of people, and on the shores of some lake I will have my ashrama and perform tapas there undisturbed." On the shores of a lake, Kaushika began his tapas again in the holy spot by name Pushkara Kshetra. On the holy spot by name Pushkara Kshetra. Trishanku had a son by name Harishchandra. He had no sons and he prayed to Varuna, the lord of the oceans. He said, "All I want is to have a son. When a son is born to me, I will perform a yajna with my son as offering and give him to you." In course of time, a son was born to the king and he called him Rohita. Varuna came to him and asked him to keep his word. He said, "You must keep up your promise. You agreed to perform a sacrifice with this child as the offering." The king said, "A newborn child is not clean. It is only after 10 days that it becomes clean. I will give him to you after that." 10 days later, Varuna came to claim the child, and the king said, "A yajna pashu has to have teeth, so wait till the child cuts his teeth." When Varuna came again, the king postponed the gift by saying that the milk teeth should fall, and then they should grow again, and so it went on. In his attachment to his son, the king kept on thinking up excuses. "Let my son wear armor. A Kshatriya is pure only when he wears an armor." Rohita, in the meantime, came to know about all that had happened. He wanted to escape his doom by running away to the forest with a bow in his hand. The king was afflicted with the dread disease called Mahodara, which Varuna caused as a punishment. Hearing about it, the prince Rohita started to go back home to save his father. Indra stopped him. He told the young prince that he should go and visit all the holy rivers. 1 year passed, and again it happened, and again. 5 years passed, and finally he made up his mind to go back to his kingdom and see his father. On the way, Rohita met a Brahmin whose name was Ajigartha. He was traveling with his wife and 3 sons. The prince thought that his father's disease would be cured and that he himself could escape death by sacrificing someone else. He saluted the Brahmin, who stood silent to find out what the prince wanted. Rohita said, "My lord, I will give you 100,000 cows. Are you willing to trade one of your sons for it?" The Brahmin wanted more details, and the prince told him about the predicament of his father and himself. Ajigartha said, "My eldest son will not part from me. He is too dear to me, and I will not be able to live without him." The wife of the Brahmin said, "My husband, the Bhargava, has said that our eldest son is dear to him and therefore cannot be given. I want you to know that the youngest child is dear to me, and I cannot bear to give him up. It is always the way of the world that the eldest is the father's favorite and the youngest that of the mother." The second son was called Suna Shepa. He spoke in a soft and sad voice. "Listen to me, O prince. My father favors my elder brother and my mother my younger brother. It is as good as understood that I have been sold to you by my parents for 100,000 cows. Take me with you." The prince gave the number of cows to the Brahmin and was happy, since he had the young boy with him who would be sacrificed instead of himself. It was noon when Rohita and Sunashepa reached the holy spot named Pushkara. There the young boy saw Kaushika, who was absorbed in his tapas. The child was hungry, thirsty and very depressed because he realized that he was unwanted by his parents, or else would they have sold him for 100,000 cows? And they knew that he was going to be killed, and yet they gave him away. He knew that this Rishi Kaushika was distantly related to the Bhargava clan, and he felt that he had a claim on him. Impulsively, he rushed to the presence of Kaushika and fell on his lap, sobbing. Rudely awakened from his trance, Kaushika looked at the intruder. He saw a young boy with a woe-begone face, and he was sobbing his heart out. The child said, "I have no father and no mother. As for kinsfolk, I have none. You are my only refuge. You must save my life. I have been told that you are very noble, powerful, and compassionate, that you can never bear to see anyone who is unhappy. I saw you and I have come to you for help." Kaushika wanted to know what was worrying the young boy, and he told him the entire story. Kaushika's heart was full of love for this foundling. Sunashepa said, "My lord, since my father has sold me for the purpose of a yajna, I do not want that yajna to be spoiled, nor do I want to lose my life. Only you can work things in such a way that both these can be accomplished. I want to live long, perform tapas, and then reach the heavens. You are the succor for unfortunate beings like me, and you are a father to me since I am now an orphan." Kaushika pacified the weeping boy with gentle words and promises, and he summoned his sons and said, "Parents create their children so that they will guide them to heaven, to assure them of a place in the other world. I want you to justify your births. Here is this child who has come to me to save him. You are all well read and you have acquired wealth in the form of tapas. Do what is expected of you by me. One of you should become the Yajna Pashu for the sacrifice of King Harishchandra. Thus, I will save this child, and the Yajna will also come to a successful conclusion. Will you do it?" The sons, led by Madhu Chandas, considered it a big joke, and laughing at their father said, "Father, how can you find it in your heart to abandon your sons for the sake of a foundling who weeps his heart out? It is as improbable that we should accept your suggestion as it is to eat the flesh of a dog." Kaushika's anger rose to the surface, and he said, "Your behavior and your words are unworthy of your birth, and you are not fit to be my sons. Those who disobey their father are not fit to be honored. Like the sons of Vashishta, you will also be Chandalas and eat the flesh of dogs for 1,000 years." Kaushika assured Sunashepa that he would save his life somehow. He pondered for a long while and then said, "You must go with Rohita and allow yourself to be tied to the sacrificial pole Upasthamba. They will place garlands of red flowers round your neck and smear red sandal paste on your body. They will tie you up with ropes which have been purified with incantations. I will teach you these 2 verses, and in your mind repeat them till you have memorized them. Then, during the yajna, sing these hymns. The yajna will be as good as successful in its completion." Sunashepa learned the hymns with great care. He then went to Rohita, who had been resting all the while, and said, "Let us hurry to the spot where the yajna is to be performed. I am well prepared for it." The prince was happy to see him a willing victim, and they hurried to the presence of the Sikh king. Harishchandra was immensely pleased with the turn of events. He went to the Yagnashala and began to perform the yajna, though he was sorely afflicted with the disease Mahodara. The young boy was tied to the Upasthamba, and when they were getting ready to sacrifice him, the young boy began to sing in his childish treble the hymns taught to him by Kaushika. The Yagnashala was silent with surprise, and later, with admiration for the noble hymns which were in praise of the Devas, Indra, Varuna, and the others who were entitled to a share of the Havis. Indra was pleased and so was Varuna. They appeared in person and granted long life to Sunashepa. The king was forgiven for his lapse and he was cured of his disease. The experiences he had gone through because of his excessive attachment to his son had taught him a lesson, and Harishchandra wanted to learn the Brahma Vidya from Kaushika. The rishi was only too happy to tell him, and after that Harishchandra was a changed man. Kaushika had 100 sons. One of them was called by the name Madhuchandas. So all the 100 were called as Madhuchandas brothers. After the yajna performed by Harishchandra, Kaushika adopted Sunashepa as his own and told his sons, "He is your brother. I want you to treat him as your elder brother. He was born a Brigu, but he is now one of you." The older sons of Kaushika were not happy at the suggestion of their father, and they would not accept Sunashepa as their elder brother. Kaushika was of course furious, and he cursed them too to be low-born. There were 50 of them. The other 50, led by Madhuchandas, fell at his feet and said, "We are willing to obey you in everything. We are very happy to accept Sunashepa as our eldest brother." The father was naturally pleased with them and said, "You are good sons and I am pleased with you. Led by this new son of mine, you will be known as the Kaushikas and our house will be famed as the Kaushika Gotra." Kaushika pursued his tapas for 1,000 years. At the end of it, Brahma appeared before him and said, "Because of your tapas, you have become a rishi, not just a rajarshi." Kaushika was not pleased with becoming a rishi. He was determined to achieve the status of Brahmarshi, and he began to perform tapas intensely. He went to the north and there he pursued his tapas. Jai Shri Ram. Om Shri Ramar Pranamast. Chapter 26 of Ramayana's Balakanda, Kaushika's lapses. Apadamahartaram dataram sarvasampadam lokaviramam Shriramam bhuyo bhuyo namamyam. The Devas were worried about Kaushika's tapas, and the foremost of them was Indra, who was afraid that his status as Indra might be in danger. He decided to disturb the tapas and he summoned to his presence Menaka, the Apsara of his court. He said, "You are the best among the Apsaras. I want your help. I will tell you what I want you to do." Kaushika is performing tapas and he is glowing like the noonday sun. So fierce is the tapas he has accumulated. If he succeeds, there is every danger of my being pushed out of my throne. I want you to go to his penance. I want you to go to his presence. He has all his senses under control, and with single-mindedness he is absorbed in meditation. With your beauty, your youth, and your winning ways, you should tempt him and make him succumb to the weakness which is innate in the heart of every man. Make him abandon his tapas, and I will be pleased with you. Menaka was afraid to go. She said, "My lord, I have been told that he is very powerful and that he is very easily angered. Think of the combination, power, tapas and anger. How can I survive these? You are afraid of him and yet you want a weak woman like me to go to him. How can I face him? He has cursed the sons of Vashishta. He was a Kshatriya and by his own efforts he has become a rishi now. He has been like Brahma in creating a new heaven for the sake of a king. Such a powerful tapasvin will surely have gone beyond the sway of the senses, and how can I dare to go near him? What if he curses me? If you assure me that he will not curse me, I will do what you ask me to do. Send Manmata and Vasanta with me. Make the wind Mandanila to come with us. Under such pleasing conditions which are always conducive to the act of love, I will try to tempt Kaushika and let us hope I succeed in my attempts." Menaka went down to the earth, and in the neighborhood of the spot where Kaushika was, she spent her time waiting for the proper time when she could make her appearance. One day, Kaushika got up from the meditation and was moving about. Menaka thought that the chance had come her way now, the chance she was waiting for, and she was not wrong. Looking at her beautiful figure and her winning ways, Kaushika was bewitched and he succumbed to her charms. 5 years passed and another 5 years. He woke up suddenly one day out of this bewitchment. He realized that 10 years, 10 precious years had been wasted. His tapas had been disturbed and he had lost much of what he had accumulated. He was full of anger and sorrow. He then realized that it was the work of the Devas who were set on disturbing tapas performed by anyone. When she saw him like this, Menaka was overcome with fear lest he should vent his anger on her. She stood with folded palms and her tears were trembling on her lashes. But Kaushika was not angry with her. He told her that he was going north to continue where he had left off. He went to the banks of the river Kaushiki, and his tapas was terrible. After a long time, the Devas, pleased with him, came there with Brahma, and they said, Kaushika, you are now a Maharshi. You have performed severe penance. We say that you are the greatest of the rishis. Kaushika was neither pleased nor sad at the words of Brahma. He said, with my tapas I have earned the title Maharshi. But tell me, have I become one who has conquered the senses? Brahma said, no, you are not a Jitendriya, not completely. Kaushika's face fell and Brahma said, you must try to achieve that also, perfect control of the senses. The most difficult part of his tapas was performed by him for the next few years. He held his arms aloft and he was bent on starving himself in the midst of 5 fires during the summer days and in the midst of water during winter. Only air was his food. Only air was his food. His tapas became intense, and as was his custom, Indra summoned Rambha and told her, go and try to tempt Kaushika as Menaka did before. Rambha was very much afraid of Kaushika and said, I dare not. His anger will be unbearable. But Indra assured her that he would himself be with her. The nightingale would sing from the branches of the mango tree near where Kaushika was, and on that tree would be stationed Manmata and Indra. While he was absorbed in his meditation, Kaushika was disturbed by the music of the nightingale. He smelled the scent of the flowers which bloom only during the season Vasanta. He opened his eyes and they lighted on the very beautiful women standing before him. He knew that it was the work of Indra, or else how could Vasanta come long before it was due? And again, how could a woman find her way into the heart of the terrible forest unless she had been brought there? His anger came up once more and he cursed Rambha. You have agreed to try and tempt me by your wiles and by your wanton ways and rob me of my tapas. You will be turned to stone and stay on the earth for 1,000 years. The moment he said it, he repented his action and said, yes, Brahma is right. I am not a Jitendriya. I am not able to subdue my anger. So long as the senses are unconquered, the Atman will not attain tranquility. Hereafter I will never be angry and I will not speak a word. I will drain myself of all feelings and perform tapas once again. Then and only then will I attain the fruits of my tapas. Jai Shri Ram. Om Shri Ramarpanamastu. Chapter 27 of Ramayana's Balakanda. Vishwamitra, the Brahmarshi. Namo Brahmana Devaya, Go Brahmana Hitaya, Jagadittaya Krishnaya, Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Kaushika abandoned the north and walked towards the east, and there again he performed his tapas. For 1,000 years he was silent, and the world and the heavens were all being burnt up by the fire of his penance. He had become as thin as a twig, and he had surmounted several obstacles placed in the way of his achievement. He banished anger from his mind completely. One day, he broke his fast and cooked some rice for himself. Just as he was about to eat it, Indra, taking the form of a Brahmin, came to him and begged him for food. Kaushika spoke not a word but gave the entire food to the Brahmin and went back to his meditation without eating. His tapas became more and more fierce. Even the air which he was breathing he controlled so that he could stay without breathing for a long while. Smoke began to emanate from his head, and the worlds were suffering because of his penance, and the Devas and others went to Brahma and told him, Kaushika now glows with the greatness of his tapas. If you do not grant him what he has been wanting all these years, his tapas is sure to destroy all the three worlds. His glory is so great that even the sun and fire have lost their lustre. The seas are lashing their waves in torment, and the mountains are spitting fire. The earth is trembling and there is storm everywhere. Kaushika is like the great fire at the end of the yuga, and it is up to you to save the universe from him. Brahma hurried to the presence of Kaushika and said, We welcome you, Brahmarshi. We have been pleased with the tapas you have performed. With your efforts, you have achieved the status of Brahmarshi. You will live very long. May you prosper. A thin flash of pleasure lit up the face of Kaushika. He prostrated before Brahma and said, If what you have granted me is really true, if I am a Brahmarshi, if I am long lived by your grace, let the Vedas accept me as Brahmarshi. I have but one desire. Vashishta, your son, should recognize me as such. They brought Vashishta to the presence of the great Kaushika, and he smiled with affection at Kaushika and said, You are a great man, Brahmarshi. There is no doubt about it. Kaushika honored Vashishta, and he was free to go as he pleased. The thought that he had achieved the seemingly impossible made him happy, but he was not proud nor conceited. He was ever bent on doing good to others, and he was called Vishwamitra, the friend of the universe. He was ever bent on doing good to the others, and he was called Vishwamitra, the friend of the universe. Sadhananda said, This great Vishwamitra is the very personification of tapas. Janaka stood in front of Vishwamitra and said, It has been an act of infinite kindness on your part to have come here to my yajna with the sons of the monarch. Today, I have heard in detail the sacred story of how you became Vishwamitra, the friend of the universe. How well the name fits you, my lord. You are bent on doing nothing but good to mankind, and something tells me that you have come here to do me a great favor. The sun had nearly set, and they broke up their session. The king went back to his palace, and the rishis to their hermitages. Rama was silent, and so was Lakshmana. The story of Vishwamitra and his struggle was too sublime to be talked about. Jai Shri Krishna. Shri Ramarpanamastu. Chapter 28 of Ramayana's Balakanda, The Bow of Mahadeva. Harashambho Mahadeva Vishveshamara Shiva Shankara Sarvatman Nilakanta Namostute. Early in the morning, King Janaka went to the presence of Vishwamitra. He spoke to him and to the princess words of welcome and added, Lord, you have come to me with the intention of blessing me. I know that. Tell me if there is anything particular which I should do. Please command me as to what should be done to make you happy." The rishi was impressed by the humility of Janaka, and he spoke in a soft, persuasive voice. "As I told you yesterday, these two young men are Kshatriyas, the sons of the monarch Dasharatha, and they are called Rama and Lakshmana. Their fame as archers has spread the world over. It is but natural for them to be impatient to see the bow of Mahadeva, which you have been worshipping for years. I can assure you that great good fortune is awaiting you, and the bow will be the cause of it. Ask the bow to be brought here. Let them see it." King Janaka said, "I will relate to the young men the story of the bow, about how it came about that the house of the Videhas has been honored by its possession. Nimi was a famed monarch in our family, and the sixth king after him was Deva Ratha. This bow was given to him. He had been asked to keep it with him, and to guard it very carefully. As for this bow, in ancient times, when Daksha performed a yaga, he insulted Mahadeva by refusing to give him his share of the harvest. The Devas, who were afraid of Daksha, countenanced this insult to the Lord. Mahadeva went to the Yagnashala with this bow in his hand, and looking at the Devas, sneeringly he said, 'Since you allowed this injustice, I am going to separate your jeweled heads from your bodies.' The Devas rushed to him at once, and they fell at his feet and craved pardon. Mahadeva is a god who is easily incensed and easily pacified. His anger vanished, and the Devas were saved. This bow was then given to my ancestor, and he was asked to guard it as a treasure, as indeed it is. Once, when I was planning to perform another yajna, I was ploughing the ground, and when the ground was split by the plough, I saw that in the furrow made by the plough was a beautiful child. It was a delicate-looking girl, and since I was then childless, I took her to my queen, and the child grew up to be my eldest daughter. Discovered as she was by the tip of the plough, I have called her Sita. She seems to me to be the incarnation of Devi Lakshmi herself. She is no ordinary mortal. I decided to give her in marriage to a hero. This was after several princes came to me and asked me for her hand. I was not willing to give her away, and so I told them that she can be given only to the one who can fulfill my stipulation. They asked me what it was, and I said, "She will be given to the one who will lift this bow and string it." My lord, not one of them was able even to lift it. Offended by me, as they thought, they joined together and surrounded Mithila on all sides, seeking to destroy me and my kingdom. I was not able to withstand the onslaught of so many kings who combined their forces, and for a year I suffered. I performed tapas, and the Devas sent their divine army to help me. The enemies were vanquished, and Mithila was saved from destruction. This is the bow which has such a long story which goes with it. I will certainly have it brought here for Rama and Lakshmana to see." Janaka commanded his ministers to have the bow brought to the presence of Vishwamitra. They went to the palace of the king. The bow was placed so that everyone could see it. The great bow was worshipped with flowers and incense every day. It took 5,000 stalwarts to drag the cart holding the bow. The cart had 8 large wheels, and with great difficulty the cart was dragged to where the king was seated with his guests. When the iron casket containing the bow came into view, they all stood up as one man and honored the bow of Mahadeva. Janaka stood humbly before Vishwamitra and said, "This is that famed bow which has broken the pride of so many kings. This is the bow of Mahadeva. No Deva, nor Asura, nor Yaksha has been able to lift it even, not to mention stringing it or using it. No Gandharva, nor Kinnara, nor a Rakshasa has been able to lift it. What then can be said about a mere man? Please show the bow to the princess. Vishwamitra was listening to the words of Janaka with a great deal of attention. A moment passed, and then, with a sweet and gentle smile touching his lips, Vishwamitra said, "Child, Rama, go and look at the bow." Rama walked towards the casket. He opened the lid and stood staring at the magnificent bow. He stood gazing at it for a long moment. He then turned to the Rishi Vishwamitra and asked, "Great one, I will now touch this great bow with my hand. I will lift it and try to string it. May I do so?" "You may," said both the Rishi and the king. Everyone was tense with excitement since Rama spoke with so much confidence. Even as thousands of eyes were watching, Rama lifted the bow as though it were just a sport. There was an audible sigh from everyone when they saw him lift it easily with his left hand. Rama stood the bow straight and, holding it with his left hand, he bent it with his right to string it. There was a noise like a clap of thunder, and those who were watching saw the great bow of Mahadeva break into two. The earth trembled at the noise, and most of the people around fell down senseless. Vishwamitra, Janaka, and the princess were the only four unaffected by the noise. When they had all recovered and when there was a semblance of normalcy restored, Janaka spoke words of great sweetness and words suited to the occasion. He said, "I still cannot believe that this has happened. I have never seen the like of it before. This Rama is the greatest among men. My dear daughter Sita is fortunate to become the bride of the house of the Ikshvakus. I had announced that I would give her to the hero who will string the bow, and Rama has done it. Permit me, my lord, to send messengers to Ayodhya. Let them relate to the monarch about the incidents here, and let the king know how his son won the hand of my daughter. Let him be told that the princes are still under your care, and let him be entreated to come to Mithila as early as he possibly can." Vishwamitra was only too happy to say, "Do so by all means." Messengers were sent to Ayodhya on fleet horses, and they hurried to the great city with the glad tidings that Rama had broken the great bow of Mahadeva, and that Sita, the daughter of Janaka, was to be his bride. Jai Sita Rama. Jai Shri Ram.